Y'all, we in the weeds.
There's a certain appetite out there for failure porn.
We invested $100,000.
Tell me about how you almost lost the house.
Our apartment.
That extreme pain from losing all of that money, ugh.
Yo, that's just part of the cost that you pay to play in this game.
The reason we had to take it on the chin is because we knew we needed to present ourselves as a really, really capable agency.
This story is probably something no one has ever heard us actually tell. Stay Sharp, episode 37. I'm Jordan Ray, and this is Rashad Tyler, my other half and business partner.
We here.
With the ad-libs.
Indeed.
I gotta pause and give you time to do the ad-libs.
I think I don't know if I'm over it, but I'm not pressing anymore.
Okay, that's nice to know.
Yeah. It's like Jeezy 1.0. Like it was always there and it didn't have to be in some moments, but.
Got you.
It's called maturity, Jordan.
I like it. Okay. Growing up over here. We're the duo behind Rare Label, if you did not already know, which produces this podcast and supports fly brands and businesses from strategy to implementation. You can read all about that on our website, but we're here to have a conversation. So you can see by our thumbnail, by our title, what we're going to talk about. But I definitely want to have a check-in real quick. It's been a couple weeks since we've had the pod. How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good. I feel like I prepared for today a lot better than I have in previous episodes. So I feel very present.
Okay.
I feel like I got some space.
That's nice to let the people know.
Yeah, it takes some time. It takes some time to get settled into doing this kind of thing on a consistent basis. So, you're watching us grow as we are sharing, previous stories of our growth. So I'm excited to be doing this again with you. And nobody can see it, but I'm low-key playing footsies with her too. Yeah.
Very distracting. I am a little bit more, I think that on a weekly basis, I've been really trying to figure out what my preparation looks like for the podcast. Mm-hmm. And just recently we introduced Mindset Shift. That is a bi-weekly live check-in and Q&A with our Stay Sharp community. So if you don't already know, that's happening every other Thursday, whereas this podcast conversation happens every other Tuesday.
Right.
And it's a way for us to show in real time that we are real people. We are real humans. I think sometimes the feedback that we get from the outside viewer, our friends and family, our clients and different people, our supporters, is like, oh my gosh, y'all have it all together. Like everything looks so good. I just love what y'all doing. And for us in the day-to-day, let me back up real quick. That's much appreciated. Much appreciated that you all see us. But in the day-to-day, y'all, we in the weeds like everybody else. Mm-hmm. We're having conversation after conversation, moment after moment that feels so unclear. And so Mindset Shift is that place where I think we can kind of air it all out. We can tell y'all some about what we're going through, how we're overcoming things, how we're shifting, how we're setting our mind, whatever that looks like on any given weekly basis, monthly basis, quarterly basis, so on and so forth. And definitely look out for that. We'll be putting those links up on the YouTube channel. Also follow us on social so you can keep up with that there. But to your point, we are doing this for the first time. Every episode is we're doing this for the first time. We're just getting our practice up.
Yeah. I think there's such a usefulness of a certain type of, and forgive me for the language, which you're going to squint at. There's a certain appetite out there for failure porn.
You've never said that before. Yeah. Where did you get that?
I don't know. I listen to a lot of things.
You're borrowing. Okay.
Yeah. It's not my line.
It's okay. I'm not mad at it. I'm just like, you've never said that. So who are you listening to?
Yeah. I mean, I think, but even when I was at my lowest, and I've said this to you a lot of times, you'll know this is mine. I'm like, dude, tell me about how you almost lost the house. And it was much more useful for me at that time to hear about how hard the journeys were, what the failure points were. Mm-hmm. What the moments were where you were scared, where you overcome and how you overcame.
We're actually
temperament, mindset, all of those different things. So back to the programming that we're putting out, it answers a lot of those different things. But I'm acknowledging that there is a specific appetite. Some people are not necessarily into it, but there's a certain appetite for like access to bad shit.
Yeah, we're actually going there. We're going there on this podcast. We're going to share and shed some light on something that a situation that happened to us within our business where we literally almost lost our house, our apartment. And we're definitely going to go there. So hang out for just a bit. And to just re-emphasize exactly what you're saying, like the appetite for failure porn is something that's the reason why we're showing up every week, whether it's on the podcast, it's on Mindset Shift with you all and for you all, along with you all, however you want to look at that. So you all know too, to go build your own thing, to go start that project, to, get up and like, you're not going to feel motivated every day. You still got to find a way. So again, that's why the podcast combined with the live sessions, I think are really going to start to illustrate like who we are as people and what we believe in and how things are not easy for us, no matter what it looks like on camera. So
That's right.
Real quick, I do want to share, we had an experience last week where we went to a concert. Rashad got us some really great floor seats to Nicki Minaj.
Why? No. Tell you, man, do your total recap. You are the person who is giving us access to the amazing repertoire of music and person and performer and otherwise that the Barb life kind of spreads the messaging around. So I don't want to interrupt any further.
I might be the biggest Barb that Rashad knows.
That's a fact.
And to me, that's so strange because I'm like, not everybody likes Nicki. Like everybody likes Nicki. Like, if you're not a fan, she say that bitch deaf dumb. So I'm like, who's not a Nicki fan? It's insane. But we went last week and it was long awaited because she had scheduled the New Orleans show a couple months ago and then had to reschedule. And it was amazing to see that show and, just like be a part of that, like be front row basically and see her perform so much of her catalog, especially like the new album. When the new album came out, I knew before it came out because how she was talking about it, you just kind of know.
Yeah.
And definitely a masterpiece. I think too, like as a creative, Nicki hasn't put herself in a box. And that's always been appreciated for me. So she can show up here, over here. She has her personas and her personalities and she leans into that.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like there's very many artists who do that and who are open about it. Like I'm literally going to put a different hat on depending on what I am trying to deliver to you. Yeah. I think that's super cool. Anyway.
It's interesting. Real quick, you mentioned like the seat type. And the whole time I was there, I'm going, there was a specific reason you get, like when you're a fan of the artist, like really a fan of the artist, the floor seat is where the fan is. Like because the people that we were around knew every lyric from mixtape Nicki to current album. They knew every lyric. They picked up on every reference. And I'm not talking about one or two people, literally everybody in this section. Whereas like when we are doing our, more going for the experience, like maybe that's in like the suite, you're not necessarily as much of a fan. You're watching the production and you're a part of like,
you're not hanging on every word.
You're there, but you're not in it. It's totally different. Like a basketball game, whether you're a fan or you're just like family, like there's just two different levels of experience that I want to articulate in some sort of way or figure out how we make those decisions between like, is this something that we want to attend and go to a suite with a group of people? It's like have food and just kind of be there. And it's like we have our own party that's a part of the event. or be in the fan experience that's like, nah, we're here for these bars. We're here for these vocals. You know what I mean? We're here for this performance. And like for this, like I was over the moon with our proximity, but more importantly, like seeing how the Nicki Minaj fan is. It's a different type of fan.
Yeah, it was insane. And we almost, we had to have a couple words with some people trying to, stand in front of us.
But it was all in
and
love,
all of these things.
Right? They were all in love with her. They were willing to give it up.
Yeah, which most
get in a fight.
Fans are.
Yeah.
But that has nothing to do with, well, these aren't your tickets. Like you shouldn't be sitting right here. Like
you should spend a different, spin the block and get a different ticket type if you want to stand here. Yeah.
So segueing into our conversation, event production. This is a great segue because I think there's this misconception that events that are ticketed, especially for sure, obviously, just make money. Like you just make money. Like all of that is profit. And because she canceled the show, there's so many people who are upset about the cancellation that happened in March. And for me, I was just kind of like, okay, well, she called in sick. People have sick days. And,
that's right.
She still has a business to run. So she didn't make any money. Matter of fact, she still has to pay whatever that cancellation fee is on her end that we know nothing about.
That's right.
So event production is like this just glorious thing. Like, oh, I want to do things that I'm passionate about. I want to do things that, but we know from experience that you can lose a lot of money producing events. You can make a lot of money producing events, but you always have to be realistic in what the expectations are, and how you're going to manage your expectations, but also just what your bottom line is and what your expenses really are for what you want to do.
Yeah.
And
so much romance.
I feel like we get asked so much about event production, and the marketing and sales that go into event production,
which are two
because of
things.
our backgrounds. Yeah. So I'll throw this out there real quick and I'll let you take it. But your background, I want to make sure I'm setting the stage for why we're also qualified to talk about this because of our backgrounds and because of how much money we've lost doing events. And this story is probably something no one has ever heard us actually tell, what we're about to get into. But starting with your background, you started, I'm going to just say it, you may not like my language, but you was a party promoter.
Yeah, without a doubt. Everybody who gets to my level, just about everybody. I don't want to.
It's a lot of respect because like making money, a living as a party promoter, however whatever you want to call it. I'm like, whoa, like respect.
I mean, and we're talking about starting. We're talking about 20-year-old, 20, 21, 22. Like 21, I didn't get my first record deal until 24. So from 20, even before that, like the introduction comes through the fraternity. So I think young men who have an interest in entertainment and how to style things and how, like the first place to potentially make some money is a party. And you're going from that, high school moment to like 18 where you're trying to create a party, you're trying to be out and like somebody's got to do it. And then you're going like, all right, well, we want to do it at this place. Oh, we can make money at it. I think that's a common revelation. Yeah. But a lot of times, like people who go on and have entertainment careers, most of us start there.
Yeah.
I mean, I can provide more context on that, as we go, but I made a great living. I was making more than my parents when I was in a sophomore in college, which, was not a knock. That's not a knock to them either. I'm not saying like that they made good livings, but that's just to say like I had a really consistent business.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure I was like leveling on why we're qualified to speak about something, because at this very moment, we're not actively producing events, and that's okay. Like, we know why we're not. And my background, I have a lot of reps in sales and recruiting. And that's not stuff that anybody knows. But when I'm 20, 21, 22, working in retail, working as a college basketball coach, and one of my main roles was to recruit the next class that was coming in. And you have to learn how to sell to people. What are they really wanting and how can I solve that problem for whatever gap that they're experiencing? And that's so different than marketing. So I have learned a lot of marketing from you. And I think vice versa. Like you may have learned a lot of sales through me. Not that you didn't have it before, but maybe just my point of view on certain things, right? Like I think that sales is a lot of goodwill. You're generating trust and goodwill and different things like that. But it's also very data driven, like we're trying to connect the dots for someone who, may or may not want this product, or like I'm upselling them, how do I tack on to the ticket? And also my experience with waitressing, upsell,
So watch this. Let me do some level setting, some additional level setting. So let's attack size of event, right? Like style of event. And then, and style in terms of like who the audience is, whether or not there's ticketing, whether or not it's like intended to be like a tastemaker event, a feeder event. There's all different types of events. So like for me at that young age, I was already doing like concerts. I was already doing national events where, for example, and we laugh about this all the time, and it shows my age for sure. But like one of the bigger events that I was a part of, I was a minority partner in when I was 22, 23. Like, I was doing parties with like Magic Johnson and Allen Iverson and Music Soul Child.
Throwback.
Yeah. Like the big event that I did at like 22 was at Universal Studios theme park. Somehow these guys let me construct the deal. I don't know how. Like I'm in the driver's seat for constructing the deal and even ideating what the deal should look like. But we lost some money on it. But the audience was 10,000. Like it was 10,000 attendees at Universal Studios theme park. The headliners were Jagged Edge, Ludacris, and so, you know what I mean? So like that's a part of my whole background, right? Down to doing events in Lakeland, where, it's 300-400 day party. Right. Yeah. So there's like a width of events. And lastly, like here in New Orleans, I was doing, what is it called? The place over there? The Jazz Market. We were doing New Year's Eve in Jazz Market. We were doing like 600, 700, 800 on New Year's. Maybe even more than that. But that's just a range of like events. And those were all like ticketed, the typical party type of things, which is a different audience. And you need a certain type of street promoter approach to those.
Yeah. Let me add this to the pot. Anyone who's listening in may have experience in events. You may have had success or failures, or you may want to have and produce your own event for whatever reasons. It might be ticketed. It might be.
Those are parties like. Yeah. And those are, and what we'll cover is not just those types of events is what I wanted to say. I just wanted to give some flooring to that audience and people who see it through that lens.
Yeah. There's two major reasons I think that you could produce an event. Number one is you are in it for the business of it. And you're very clear that you want to understand that and you want to have a profit. Okay. If I'm going to essentially invest this much money to bring this type of talent into the event, to host it or perform, so on and so forth, you know that you need to get a return on that investment. And how am I going to do that? Oh, it's through ticket sales. It's through the bar guarantee or the bar deal, whatever that looks like.
Yep.
Well, on the other side of that, there's also a ton of people and a ton of opportunity who want to have an event where it is, no, I just want people to come and I just want people to vibe. I don't have to, I don't want them to have to pay for tickets. And it's, that's cool because there's a space for that, but there's a strategy for that. And going into an event and really understanding for yourself, if you want this to be profitable or if it's just about passion, those are two totally different reasons, but they both still have a business strategy and marketing and sales strategy behind them, whether it is completely free to the guests, it's all inclusive, influencer dinner or whatever, brand activation, cool. Like all that stuff looks so fancy, but in order to even pitch the brand, you need to have the business plan together. This is how we're really going to execute on this event. And then on the other side, if you're in it because you need to make money or you need to make your money back,
there you go.
You need to understand, because events like actually like they low key don't make money.
Well,
depending on the scale.
Depending on the scale and depending on the intent. That's exactly right. So like the street promoter is, it sounds derogatory, but that's not the intention, right? It's just like when you say party promoter, I'm just going, it's a street promoter, because they understand that it's really about capitalizing on what's going on in the streets from a momentum, interest, whatever, doing an R&B party right now is what a street promoter is going to do. No disrespect, again, with how I'm framing it,
hot
but it's what the streets want. They take the concepts that are hot in the streets and put them in a club environment and capitalize off of the ticketed sale by people being able to jointly celebrate this idea, this concept, what's going on from a momentum standpoint. Makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Now, if you are doing it from an ego standpoint, which is a different thing, like I just want to be the host of an event that brings these types of people together, that means that the occasion is not from a street promoter's perspective. It's coming from a different place. I think there's that. Then there's the brand activations, which is something that you're generating or leveraging what you understand for people to get motivated by, but tagging it to introducing a product, a service, or a business, using that money and for that purpose. So the back end value is getting everybody aware of the product or, again, the business, and they are paying for the customer acquisition cost through of acquiring that customer, whatever that cost is, through that event.
Yeah. And I want to make that point that we're not saying that either approach is right or wrong. It's more that understanding just really what you're doing this for.
Yeah.
As a part of your big strategy, because you cannot wait for a brand to figure it out for you or a brand to come to you, because that's just not going to work. You can't also depend on sponsorship money to make your thing happen.
No.
If you want to make it happen, you need to understand how it's either going to be self-funded, or you need to have the patience to put together an offer to the brand, to the guests, that makes sense, that, okay, people really want to get on board with this. And that takes time, and it takes a lot of thought, because you can't wait until someone else is going to figure it out for you. You need to know.
That's right.
On the other side, on the street promoter side, you have to understand, like, okay, if I'm going to bring in Megan Thee Stallion or whatever to be my headline talent, and this is her ticket price because I want to do such and such festival, like we're talking like large scale or whatever, or like an R&B night, I want to bring in Music So Child for like a guest appearance or something, like cool. Like, you got to know how to work a spreadsheet, or if you don't know how to work a spreadsheet, you need to be able to do some of this in your head.
But watch this, before we go there, and I don't want to button this last part up, because where we're going to go is much more tactical, right? Much more clear about it all. But what people have to really consider is that where you are putting your event together, there is a need for everybody to have their individual win. So if you are a ticketed promoter, like all you care about is people coming and paying the highest amount against your particular offer. If you're a brand, you may have an entirely different thing that you want people to get from a messaging standpoint and the reason that they attend and their outcome. So you need to marry what your offer is to the public versus the intended result for the back end. And again, I know we're already going to get very specific into what that looks like. But most times when people are wanting sponsorship, it's of no value to the people that you want to sponsor or offset your cost. You just want somebody to give you free money, and you have not appealed to their need. Okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's part of the work that you have to do.
100%.
And don't be misled that there's brands just giving away money. That's not happening.
No.
And I tend to lean towards on the spectrum, more brand and event activations. Whereas your experience is more street promoter. Like, I'm going to go off of what the market is hot, what everybody's really wanting to vibe to.
Don't pigeonhole me. I'm in both of them. I'm with you.
Yeah, but I do not have the experience that you have. And I know that, like, I started in brand activations. That's and right. So when we both merged like into, what we are today and the projects we've worked on, we brought both of those worlds together.
That's right.
We were even having a ticketed branded event.
Yeah.
Like we've had several of those, you know, those moments and partnered on big moments like that. So one thing that I know really taught us a lot, from a very small scale event to a large scale event, because if you do not know, our agency actually low-key started as an event production firm. And we were doing a lot of events, especially in the New Orleans market, and had plans to extend our footprint to the Houston, Atlanta, Florida, different places.
Mm-hmm.
Pandemic hit, obviously, when we were really getting going with our event production and brand activation, I guess, endeavors.
Yeah, it was a model.
We halted all of those things for 2020 because all that stuff got canceled. That aside, our business, in a sense, ended up pivoting because, you know, like we had to. And I can't believe I just said the word pivot because we've heard that a freaking 1,000 times. But we're no longer in the same business that we were because it just fizzled out for so long. And we didn't know what in real life events looked like for a long time. So we were like, well, we finna go do something else because, you know, these bills got to get paid. But they almost didn't, because we did actually invest quite a bit of money in an event. This was Essence Festival of 2019. So if you've been around for a while, you know that we did this massive activation during Essence Festival of 2019. And you may or may not know, but it did not go well. And we are, I think, very tiptoey around this story because for me, at least, it was very personal and I felt like my reputation was damaged. And I feel like I let a lot of people down in the market that I had worked so hard to create relationships with, and having to look people in the face and say, yeah, like I got to cut you from the schedule. I'm not sure if you're going to get paid. I wasn't even sure if I could pay people for their parking. And these were all promises that I had made because the calculations that we had told me led me to believe that we were going to at least break even, you know, on the event and have some sort of success.
Yeah. I thought the range of it was, I thought at worst we're going to lose 25 grand.
Yeah.
I was prepared to lose 25 grand,
$100,000 lost on an event. And it's hard for me to wrap my head around.
An event weekend
For sure. It was a large build out in a venue. And I think that taught me a lot because we had the spreadsheets, we had the numbers, we had the data, we had the email addresses, we had the RSVPs, we had done everything. The marketing was great. You know, we had great talent that came into that event that, you know, we paid for, we flew them in, we put them in hotels. All of this stuff was essentially self-funded, a large portion of it. And the event didn't go well. People didn't come. And so now we're left to figure out in the moment, what do we need to do in the very moment of this all happening? But then we had to deal with obviously the back end of that. And
so to walk through like what the whole weekend is, just so it has a really fair picture painted in everybody's minds. So the weekend had 5 events, I believe, in total. So we rented this full venue, which I want to park that idea because the key reason for failure is, at least in my view, continues to be in my view, and I think in a lot of other people's views who we know who are also professionals in the space, it was largely because of venue. Non-familiarity, not being able to find it, parking, all of these different things, and like how and where we were in said venue, which we'll get to. But the first event was like this brunch event with, at the time, Black Girl Pod. It was one of the early podcasts. That went solid. That went well enough, right? It didn't overperform, but it was our best performer, and it did what we wanted to do. It gave us a little bit of positive cushion. At least it paid for itself. The second event during the day was so we had 3 events a night. That's what it was supposed to be.
3 events a day. Yeah, we opened with a brunch with the podcast with Black Girl Pod. We transitioned into a day party situation. Champagne was kind of, the thing, like,
champagne day party.
Champagnes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the evening was more of like a dance lounge, situation.
Correct. So the day piece, we wanted to bring Karuchi, or we brought Karuchi as the host for the day party. And then the night we had, what was the DJ's name?
Esco.
Yeah, DJ Esco at night. And we wanted to partner, and they did spend some with us. But I don't know whether to frame it Pernod Ricard, but we used the Avion Martel, that whole time frame.
We partnered with the Spirit portfolio that helped offset some of the cost of just the expenses, and then also was really able to provide the liquor. That's obviously what's in it for a brand, especially a liquor brand, is how can I get my product into the hands, and how can I get people tasting, the Avion, the Martel, Jameson, like all of those are in the same portfolio.
So I'm not sure where to go. Should I finish painting the picture of the entire weekend, the room, and like that kind of part of it? Because we did this event at Pythian, which is now closed, but it was new at the time. And we were on the second floor of a building that people could not see, and they also saw as a food market.
Yeah, I think something that we learned with the venue is
we tried to fundamentally create a new venue on top of a venue that existed. So it was confusion. People thought that we were going to be in a food court doing these events. I think that was an input.
Yeah.
Aside from the market, we'll get to the market later, that we misidentified what Essence Festival is and who's attending. But these are the reasons. We don't have
to get to anything later. Like, let's talk about it.
All right. So just going right down the line to this. So like, we built this beautiful layout where you go to the second floor. Like, we had this secondary rooms. It was great. We built custom bars. It was beautiful, like very, very well done. And we expected it to be reasonably well attended. We just sold out Jazz Market 4 or 5 months before. I had a lot of momentum coming from other markets. I had a lot of national data. So people knew about it, right? But one thing you learn about New Orleans during Essence Festival, the local don't go to the parties. Number B, it is with all respect, it is an older Black woman event. This is not for the cool crew. None of these things we were that awake to. Like, I had a partner who'd previously done Idris Elba, and it went crazy. Idris Elba as a DJ. And I'm going like, I don't know if I really, no disrespect to Idris, I don't necessarily know if I want to go to his part of DJ, right? This is the land again where Karuchi ain't their identifier. If you were going to like a normal New Orleans party at that time, like, that type of influencer, that type of person would be an extremely attractive like draw, or at least like an anchor for like how you would position it all. But little did we know, like, none of that audience was in town, or at least attending events. It is largely a older person's game. Like, the average attendee has got to be 42.
Yeah.
Well above where we were targeting. So to me, like, those two inputs, venue, which is in my calculations, is supposed to be about 80% of your promise. If you can put them in a great room, you got a good opportunity for them to come. We created a problem for ourselves there. The second thing is we misidentified audience. So when you get to like this beautiful programming and all of the rest of that, it resonated outside of the potential attendee base, but poorly reacted to because the buyers were not aligned with this vision or this offer at all.
We definitely learned a lot. It was a very costly mistake. And I think that the silver lining and kind of how we had to overcome this, how I had to overcome this was, just knowing that it's a learning experience. Like, I'm going to get better. I don't have to make those same mistakes again. And I think that is what like specifically makes our ability to strategize and to help guide and advise people who are doing events is because we've literally made the mistakes. And the narrative flip for me is that it was part of the startup cost to having a business and running an agency.
That's
and
right.
You gave me a lot of that perspective because I had to pull out of it. Like, we lost a lot of money, then we go into a pandemic, and it's like, whoa, can I even do this? Like, now I can't go back to work where I was working. You know, this is 2019. If you know anything about my history, like, I had literally left everything I was doing to become full-time with our agency in 2019. So all of this hits back to back. And I just had to really take it on the chin, literally, and get back up and say, okay, you know what? To everybody else, though, honestly, except for maybe the few people who got upset with me that aren't my friends anymore because they didn't get paid, which I don't really blame them, but they have no idea what I went through. They never even asked. It's cool. It's not like what I'm going through is not their problem. But everything else was just like, it was a blur for me. And trying to overcome that was just like, yo, that's just part of the cost that you pay to play in this game. And the people who came and the people who enjoyed themselves, they love it. And we still use that project to this day as a reference for what we can do from a production standpoint, from an artistic marketing, creative marketing standpoint. And it still stands up. Although the execution, there were like two critical parts of the execution that just didn't go well. Like, those things we actually did not know those things.
Which one?
Just about the audience and the venue. Like, we thought we did enough research and we still missed. So when people are doing no research on why they're doing an event is like beyond me. Because I'm like, I've done the research and I have sat there and literally worked day and night to produce a massive event, and it still did not go well. Yeah,
it's interesting. Well, three things. Because I want to dig into like your psychology and how you felt, right? Because I think that's a meaningful exercise, and also gives folks like some access to dealing with and overcoming their potential fears around failure, right? So I want to introduce before we go back to like digging into that a bit, my experience already let me know what we were trying to do. And even inside of that, I still had miscalculations because I know how good I am at this stuff.
Yeah, you had already calculated for the downside. I'm not even aware that there is a downside.
Yeah. Your only optimism, like, you're only listening to. I'm just
going to power through.
Yeah, when we're talking about the range of what's supposed to happen. So we're going like this one's supposed to be 300 bodies. We're going to be about 800 bodies, and all the rest of that. And then the result is 50, 70, 80, 100 bodies, right? I think for the brunch, that was like the highest body count.
Yeah.
And so the rooms that we build multiple rooms because we're like worried about spillover, and we ain't even close to like, reaching a cap. Yeah. In the main room. Right. So where we were developing room for 1,200 legal footprint, we are under 10% of that capacity. Now it looks good. It feels good for the people that are, again, in there. But we bought all of the couches. This is before people were doing all of this stuff very well, right?
Fabricated the entire room.
The whole joint.
Built the stage.
We bought all of the stanchions and all of the tension, all of the tension rod, all of that stuff, right? We built the stage. When I say built the stage, I mean, we didn't go rent a stage. We built an all wood stage, put the fabrication, wrap the thing, put the facade on the DJ, everything. It was beautifully done. But again, just to give you some context about what we were trying to hit and how far we failed from it. But also thinking through the why to do it. We weren't just trying to make money on the activation itself, on the ticketing. That was an important part of it because it would set us up, and we wouldn't want to greenlight anything that we were going to lose. We knew we were going to be launching our agency. And in my thinking, I'm going, okay, if we don't do something big now while the national audience is paying attention, because that's what Essence gives you a chance to do, then we're not going to have a chance to really launch our agency until some other time. Like, people are not going to notice us. And if we don't do it all ourselves, none of my existing partners are going to get on they're not even going to get on this, because they're going to be street promoters. They're going to be going like, we ain't trying to do all of this cool stuff and spend all of this money on this fabrication, this look, and these photographers and all of this stuff. We don't care how it looks. We just want to make money. You sure we want to be in this room? Like, we should just go over to this other room where we can just get a simple food and beverage guarantee and just like put some bodies in here, because we want to make money off the door. And this introduces the type of conflict that you come into with event production. The reason we had to take it on the chin is because we knew we needed to present ourselves as a really, really capable agency. And we executed that part. So the secondary benefit was having all of the advertising look amazing. Right? The buying experience feel accurate. The entry experience feel how it's supposed to feel, right? Because for us, that's where we indexed, not most highly on the ticket.
Yeah. I will say that I don't feel scared to do anything at this point. Like, I'm not afraid of failure, because if I feel pretty bad and it's worse than that, then for me now, I'm like, well, I must have been on to something. Just, I know that I'm still going to fail, but I'm not scared to fail after that type of experience anymore, because it was, I was really distraught.
But you were a really high level, reputable, like, bar manager who put your reputation on the line to hire people. And I just don't want that to get lost. Even though you mentioned it, it's like, imagine hiring 15 of the most reputable people in this market who have other opportunities that they could go and get. I went
and recruited them. I sold them all of this stuff I already said that I have a background in. I recruited the best bar staff that I could in the city of New Orleans and sold them on, hey, come work this event, my event. And then just a few hours into the event, I have to go up to them and say, we're cutting this short. I'll be in contact with you. I do not at that point, I don't know. I'm like literally fighting back tears, because I'm like, I don't know if I can pay you. I remember one woman in particular, she was like, I just paid $20 for parking. Can I get that $20? Meanwhile, we are losing thousands of dollars a minute. And she's like, I need my $20. And I'm like, okay, here's your $20. Like, not in no, because I get it. Like, I get it. But please, like, I've had people get mad at me over $75. And I'm like, I'm trying to do projects that are worth $75,000. Just give me a second. Like, we can all make money together. Like,
which is where like the janky promoter is born, right there. Because the janky promoter thinks it's about them, right? And wants everybody to empathize with their losses. And the truth is like, you're the employer. Right. You're the person who's pulling these contractors in. Pay these people. If you're not in a position to take care of these people, don't hire them. Right. And so it's some people that like really think that even still, like, well, I ain't making like that ain't their problem. If you're hiring us and you can't make the payment, then that's your problem. Like, we did our deal with you under the idea that you were going to pay your bill. So this is the shoe that we're in. Right. Which is why we make sure that we have all of the funding in place before we pull anybody in. But we just didn't anticipate that level of loss, which the back end of the story is we paid everybody. Everybody. The investors, like, I took on $20,000 outside of it, and I still lost 100 because I had the investors or the people that were involved. I with no intention, gave them a guarantee.
Gotta pay it.
I gave them their money back. When they were actually supposed to be taking a risk with me, which is cool. But I said what I said, and that's how they took it. All right, cool. No worries. And those men have to look me in my face like, yo, he did what he said he was going to do. Because we came back, obviously, but it took a while. But this brings us to like the part of it too quickly where it's about next steps. But I just don't want it to be lost. Like, that was a really, really valuable contribution that you made and a lot of reputational risk that you put on the table that, number one, is valued by me. And I don't know if I said like thank you for doing what you did in order to make that the success that it was. Because without like your relationships and your understanding of how to staff it and how to make it work, because everybody will be caught in like the marketing side and what I was able to deliver from my vantage point. And even there, like you created the visual direction. Yeah. I just executed a lot of it.
Yeah.
But the part of it that you understood changed everything for us.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think what you could take from this conversation is that event production is a beast. It doesn't matter what end of the spectrum you're executing something on. It could be a massive event. It could be a smaller influencer dinner. You know, those are just quick references. But it also, but they all take a lot of planning and intention, because at some point you are responsible for paying someone. You're responsible for backing up your idea. You're responsible for knowing what you want to ask for out of a sponsor or a brand or a venue. And you got to learn a lot about negotiations. You need to understand, you know, just the bedside manner of, you know, how to treat people and like make sure people get paid on time, and just read the contracts. Like you're going to get very familiar with like legal.
You should.
You know, yeah, you should. And spreadsheets, and just really being able to show someone like, this is where all of our investment is going and this is how we're going to get it back. Or knowing that I'm signing up for this event because I am passionate about this topic, but I know that it's not going to make any money, but I need it to break even. So how am I going to do that? Because I'm cool with putting up my time. I'll need to pay myself, but I want to have this event, bring these people into a space. I just need it to, you know, offset it, you know.
And I think there's the part of it. So I think we framed like what the experience was, especially the downside of it, right? Like how terrible it was. The rest of it was, I'm knowing that year one on most events don't go that well. You're just trying to prove your concept. So we needed to build it in a way where it could scale, right? And so don't let any of this be lost on you. Like no matter who you are, you're putting up your first event, nobody's going to come. It don't matter who you are, right? If you already have some momentum, you're a proven player, right? You're introducing new product. That has a higher likelihood, right? Especially to the same audience and, you know, but we were trying to position this thing so that we could do it multi-year. So like if we come around and it wasn't a pandemic in the following year and we produced that same event, it probably would have gone crazy.
At a different venue. Yeah, absolutely.
Probably would have gone crazy. But there's 3 lessons. That extreme pain that came from losing all of that money, to your point, like now we got to figure out how to make sure everything else that we have planned for the rest of the year goes to, and luckily like we have other businesses and other things kind of going on. So like we were able to kind of figure it out along with finding some other loans. All right, cool. The next year is the pandemic. So even the idea of scaling or even launching our firm wouldn't have happened if we hadn't taken the moment and did our best.
Yeah.
To this other point, I really just want to make sure I nail this particular part down, because if we had a chance, when we launched this thing, we knew that there was a high chance that was going to lose 25 grand as opposed to 100. Why is that okay? It is because we know over 2, 3, 4, 5 years, we're going to eventually run it up. Because we need to prove our concept. We need to find our audience. We need to develop some momentum. We need to make sure that we can play back to people with good social proof what happened in the year before. Like Dion Cole was at our event. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we had a really, really good foundation. Coming back in year 2, scaling it down, moving the money around, like we probably, again, would have gone crazy. Yeah. Are you thinking through your entire like process and what you're trying to do? Are you thinking through it with that type of vision and that type of clarity and that type of check down or checklist?
And we still had the assets. We still had that, you know, to share, and we made it look a certain way, even though it was a massive failure.
Yeah.
But I'm really glad that we shared that story. That's not something that I don't really enjoy talking about it, but I do think it's something that people should know about our experience as co-founders and what we went through that affected our bottom line, that affected our finances as, you know, as a couple. And it, you know, in a way it was tragic, but we made it out. We're here, and appreciate you all for definitely tuning in to this message. There's just so many things about event production that are just misleading, or they look glamorous if you've never done it before. And I'm just like, yo, just do the work, do the research, have your facts together, understand what you getting yourself into, and ask for help. Ask us for help. We're, like I said, we have so much experience in this area. So if you ever need just to bounce an idea off of somebody,
let's talk about this. Let's talk about the spreadsheets in detail. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about scale and detail. And
so
what
you're
that
not
looks
guessing.
Like. Yeah. And what the calculations that we went through, like the progress is in all of that. Like, just talk to us about it all. And we're totally into it. So
yeah. Don't forget to tune in to Mindset Shift every other Thursday. That's a live check-in and Q&A with yours truly. And we have different topics. Follow us on the gram, or obviously make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can keep up to date with what's coming next. We appreciate you for watching the Stay Sharp podcast. We'll see you soon.
Bye.